Hey everyone, what's going on? It's 2 minutes to review. It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
This episode brought to you by Lucky 13 Beard Co. All your beard balms and oils you could ever need come from Lucky 13. Stay tuned at the end of the episode. We're going to give you a code to give you 10% off of everything in your cart. And if you clicked on this episode, this, to me at least, is one of the biggest albums that's going to be coming out this year. It is the brand new one from Muse.
If you think about it, there aren't very many big stadium rock bands left. Really, them and Foo Fighters are the true last full-on, like in-your-face kind of rock bands that are still able to just create a sound that matches the stadium show that they put on. And it's kind of hard to believe that it's been 9 albums now. And it's great that they're a band that, they started off huge in Europe. They finally caught on about a decade ago in the US. And they've just been blowing people away left and right with their live shows. And it's also kind of hard to believe that 4 years ago was when we reviewed their last album, Simulation Theory.
Shut your mouth. It hasn't been 4 years.
2018, buddy. I'm not good at math, but I'm pretty sure it will be almost 4 years.
All right.
I hate to say it, man, but here we are about to review Will of the People, their latest album. You clicked on the icon, you know a little bit of what we're about to do. The longest review in under 2 minutes wins this fun little competition that Matt and I have. No one really wins. It's just all ego and stuff.
It's because you don't win this very often.
Is it though? Or am I just calling the kettle black? But, Matt.
I don't know if that works here.
I don't think it does. I'm not going to lie. But I'm a big man. I'm big enough a man to admit when I'm wrong. But here we are about to give our 2 cents on Will of the People. And I'm going to be a mensch, Matt.
You going to let me go first?
I'm going to let you go first.
All right.
I know. You were caught off guard. You're like, oh, no, what am I going to do now? Yeah.
Well, I was going to use the stopwatch that we always use.
Well, that's fair. Yeah. So, Matt, let me know when you're ready.
All right, let's do it.
3, 2, 1, go.
So I'm going to say this, that all of the singles that they released, they were out before we got an advanced copy of this album. So I didn't want to listen to those because I knew we were going to be doing it here. And just going into it, Will of the People immediately reminded me of The Beautiful People by Marilyn Manson. But then it immediately turns distinctly into the Muse. And it is just a great sounding song. Compliance honestly sounded to me like they could have, if you told me Daft Punk was a part of that track, I would believe you 100% because it sounds very similar to the work that Daft Punk did with The Weeknd on I Feel It Coming. So that's a really cool way that they kind of all work that in my opinion. Liberation really throws me back to the Resistance album a little bit with the combination of like the Radiohead meets Queen meets like that classic Muse sound with a piano in the beginning and like United States of Eurasia from the Resistance. And let me tell you, I absolutely love the tracks Won't Stand Down because first of all, that sounds just like new school hip hop with old school guitar grooves and some metalcore screams from Matt Bellamy and the guys. And then I was blown away by You Make Me Feel Like It's Halloween because holy shit, it's A, sounds like Halloween, B, it just is 80s electronic goodness, and it sounds like Michael Jackson's Thriller. And there's an awesome drum outro on that song in particular. So I think this album pretty much just has everything that you're looking for from the Muse, and I think they actually did it right with this release.
Time's locked in. Matt, out of 5 stars, what do you give Muse's Will of the People?
What do I give this album? I don't see a reason not to. So I'm going to say 5 stars.
What? Your first 5-star review?
In a while.
Oof. Oh, I'm sorry. First 5-star of the year, I should say.
Yeah, it's been a while since we gave anything 5 stars. I can't see a reason not to. The only thing that I can say that I don't like about this album is the last track. It's called We Are Fucking Fucked. It sounds like it could be a South Park title. and it sounds very much so uninspired compared to the rest of the album. They could have left it off. They could have did a little more work on it. It's just meh, in my opinion. However, the rest of the album, I think, just makes up for it. And I'm really hoping that they leave the single artwork that they put out for Will the People in Compliance as the album artwork, or work it somewhere in there, because that's really cool looking. But I think they did it right on this. So I don't see a reason not to give it 5 stars.
Wow. Okay. Well, then buckle up because it's my turn. Count me down.
3, 2, 1, go.
So, for more than a decade, Muse seemed to be trying to answer the question, what would Queen sound like in a post apocalyptic world where people were constantly trying to rise and rebel against Big Brother and their drone army? Well, initially, that sounded like an enticing concept to me. But on this album, it really gets nauseatingly played out, especially on songs like Liberation and You Make Me Feel Like It's Halloween. And yeah, there's a few somewhat promising moments. Won't Stand Down and Kill or Be Killed definitely are surprisingly heavy songs that make you go, huh, wow, okay. And then there's even songs like Verona where the guitar work is actually intriguing enough, and it kind of reminded me of like early U2 90s era. But between Matt Bellamy's overdramatic and repetitive vocals and that uninspired use of electronica throughout, Will the People just had me as a whole just rolling my eyes in boredom sometimes. Whereas past Muse albums made me go, all right, cool, this is interesting. Where is this going? This one, I kept asking myself, oi, can we get on with it already? And really, if there's any reason, dare I say, to give this album less than 2 stars, which Matt alluded to already, it's because of the album's title track. It literally is a blatant ripoff of Marilyn Manson's Beautiful People. So much so that Manson could have a case in court over copyright infringement. And the fact that this awful sex abuser could actually ever win any court case nowadays is enough to shame Muse into making a public apology and to shaming this album further. So really, just overall, sorry, Muse, another disappointment for me.
Hashtag hipster takes.
Hipster
Got your time.
Oh,
hipster takes.
Oh, sorry, Mr. 5-star, that I don't agree with you. 2 stars. I'm sorry, but it's just, and back in the, there was a time when Muse's take on Queen meets Radiohead sounded awesome and fresh. This album, sorry, it just sounded uninspired to me. That's just the way for me, that's the simplest way to put it, is uninspired. And I know, which is why it's so funny how contrastingly different of a take you had. And I actually thought, you make me feel like, or what, that Halloween shit song. I'm sorry, that's a crap song.
How are you saying
crap song?
First off, when any band advertises a song that with Halloween in the title, it's always a letdown.
You might as well just say, hey, Spirit Halloween, got a song for you to use in your commercials this coming September.
Spirit Halloween doesn't have commercials?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure Muse will put up some of the bill just so they can get their song, that stupid song, on a TV screen. Like, I'm glad you admitted it sounded like Thriller, because I'm like, oh, come on, we get it already. Like, you're trying to make a rock version of Thriller.
But it worked.
No, it didn't, though.
It sounds, yes, it did.
No, it doesn't.
It works so well.
This is literally where I'm just going to keep going. No, it doesn't.
Because if that's your only defense, then you know I'm right.
No, that's all it deserves, is no, it doesn't. It's just nauseatingly like, and even the moments that like won't stand down. It's like, all right, cool, this cool riff. All right, but all right, it's already the 4-minute mark. Let's move it along. Like, it's just drawn out. I mean, I'm glad that you admitted that the F song was probably the weakest moment too, because even that, I'm like, just, oh, come on, we get it.
No, that's boring. That was the most boring song on the album by far.
Which is saying a lot, because I'm sorry, but that whole album just had me go, like, looking at the clock going, all right, where are we at here? Let's move this along.
So where would you say that Muse actually stopped sounding fresh?
Where did Muse stop sounding fresh? I think they were on the verge of losing their freshness, which is a weird thing for me to ever say out loud. Losing their freshness on the Second Law.
I will admit the Second Law wasn't the greatest of Muse albums.
And
However,
I will also say that that album contains one of our very earliest episodes where we discussed the most overplayed songs on the radio. Uh,
mhm,
Out of all the songs in Muse's catalog, for whatever reason, any alt rock channel constantly plays Madness, and
yes.
it drives me mad. I think there was some interesting moments on that album, but you can definitely tell that they were trying to get some more U.S. mainstream action.
Well, because nothing ever around here picks up Muse. Now, in other parts of the country, and I know this to be true because I forget if it was with the Resistance or if it was Second Law when it came out, that I was in California and I was listening to the radio out there and I heard Muse a lot. And here, you barely hear Muse at all being here on the
I'd
East
even
Coast.
argue, going back to your initial question too, I'd even go argue that the Resistance, even that I kind of felt like was losing a little bit of the steam. But then there's songs like United States of Eurasia and even just Resistance that kind of saved it. There's moments on that made me go, okay, no, this is a good introduction for new fans into Muse, because people forget, like, again, like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, huge in the rest of the world, and it took them a while to really get headlining status in America. Like, I even remember they were the opener for My Chemical Romance when they were touring Behind the Black Parade, and it wasn't even like, special guest Muse. It was like they were just the opener, to the point that even Frank from My Chemical Romance was like, "Why? I don't understand why this band's not huge in America. I'm blown away that we even got them on this tour, let alone that they're opening for, like, that. This is not a co-headliner thing." So Resistance, all right, that was a good introduction. But yeah, Second Law is when I think that things really started to go down. And then Drones, they were trying to be like, no, we're still a rock heavy band. We're still a guitar heavy band. They were trying to like recapture some of that glory, and it was like, I don't know.
See, to me, that's actually an interesting way for Muse to redefine themselves after Second Law, because Drones to me was, if somebody said, we need to make it another version of The Wall, but we don't want it to sound
Oh,
classic Rocky.
oh
That's what it
I,
would be. And
I don't, I don't
I
agree on that one,
appreciate.
but
I That's fine. You don't have to agree with me, and I'm sure most people won't. But that's what it really reminds me of, because throughout the album, it's somebody being put, you know, to war. There's some resistance in there, no pun intended. But um,
well, that's the other thing. Like, I feel like even lyrically, ever since Second Law, I'm like, all right, if I hear one more song about like rising against the powers that be, don't let them, tear us down. I'm like, enough already. Rebel already. Why haven't you stormed the castle already? Get to, like, it's like this. They create so many songs that sound like the soundtrack to building up to a big, huge war and fight. I'm like, just get to the fight already. Come on.
Well, now, like, Simulation Theory is on a completely different level. Like, to me, that's like cyberpunk type music on that album.
I remember you loving that album, and
I
I was
loved it.
very,
It's
and
a
I was
great
like
album.
also very meh.
Yeah,
I also thought it was
I think you should
underwhelming.
just admit you don't like Muse. I
I
think that's
love
what it is.
Muse.
No, you
I
don't.
yes, I do. Black Holes and Revelations was an amazing album. In fact, we both agreed it was one of 2006's best. In a past
Yes,
episode, if you have to pick three,
agreed.
available on any streaming platform you can imagine.
Because
Um,
that's the right answer.
and even Absolution, phenomenal album. I mean, Hysteria, one of the best rock songs of the 2010s. Uh, like, I love Muse, but I just think that the last uh, one, two, three, four, 5 or 6 albums have just been very underwhelming.
So you said, and I'm going to equate this to one last thing, and then we'll move on. You sound like those people who are like, "Oh, Metallica's Black Album was the worst album. Anything after that sucks. It's only the first 4 albums."
Well, no,
Yeah.
no, those people are just stuck in the past. I'm just one of those, like,
Oh, and you're not?
I'm not saying why don't they go back and do Hysteria again. All I'm saying is that, listen, even if they did Hysteria Part 2, it would probably sound rehashed and just uninspired. There's a difference between saying, "Oh man, the band sounds so different," to, "Oh man, the band really sounds uninspired lately." They're kind of like, I think that Muse, they know that they can sell out arenas still without even really releasing new music. That really the music is just an excuse to sell new merch. That's what Muse sounds like to me. That they're just releasing music because, well, it's time to tour and we need to sell some new merch.
I
Whereas
mean,
the Metallica argument is, oh, they got rid of guitar solos. Oh, now they're no longer speed thrash metal. Now they're actually trying to create melodies. Like, no, Muse is just, sorry, they're just kind of cashing it in. And from my opinion,
you know, and I know I said we move on, but you just said something that I've heard bands do a lot less and phone it in. So if you're telling me that Muse is phoning it in, they'd put in a lot of work for a phone in album.
I'm not denying that a phoned in album from Muse is better than most phoned in albums. I'm not denying that, but it doesn't mean it's not a phoned in album. It's kind of like when we were discussing System of a Down's surprise release of those two new singles. They sounded like mediocre B-side songs, which even at the time we're like, well, yeah, as fans of System of a Down, it was disappointing. We still were able to acknowledge that it still sounded better than most other bands' B-sides. I'm not denying that Muse's B-sides or uninspired music is better than a lot of other bands. I just am not a huge fan of it, and I just feel like, meh, over it.
All right. Well, to each
I'm
their
not
own.
even not even like, like, oh, they can do better. I want better from them. Like, no, all right. I've just accepted the fact that Muse are not the exciting fresh band that they used to be.
And I would say that they're right where they need to be. And this album sounds phenomenal.
Well, I guess it's a good thing that our opinions really don't matter, Matt. What really matters is,
I guess you could say that.
because, the whole theme of this episode, 2 minutes of review, whoever gives the longest review, another 2 minutes wins. Let's find out who won. Matt, would you like to know your time?
Yes.
You came in at 1 minute and 40 seconds.
Well, in hating this album, you actually won.
Woo! Hate wins.
By 5 seconds. 1 minute and 45 seconds.
Ooh, that must sting even more, Matt.
Not really because you're wrong, but that's just my opinion.
I don't know. Do you all agree with Matt? Do you all agree with me? Do you think that we're both being really over ridiculous about this? Do you also think that this is probably the most fun conversation because it's been a while since we both had really contrasting different opinions on an album? Let us know on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Epic Footnote. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel to hear more episodes like this, including a few featuring Muse and their albums. And thank you so much to Lucky 13 Beard Co.
Use the code EFP10 at checkout to get 10% off of anything that you throw in your cart. Lucky13, the number, beardco.com, including the brand new Lemmy-inspired beard oil that we have. Bourbon, cola, tobacco, leather, the name of the game with our beard oil. It smells incredible. Get 10% off. Use it in the cart, EFP10 at checkout. Lucky13, the number, beardco.com.
Thank you all so much for listening, and we hope you join us for another episode real soon. And keep fighting those drones.
Zach's dead inside.